Hello. How
Hey,
are you?
good.
Good. Excited to be back from Arizona
Yes, glad to be home. Glad to be here. Excited for today.
for the chilly weather as well. I'm
I
sure
know
it's
I'm
finally.
I'm wearing this sweatshirt in anticipation that fall is coming. It's not
It
actually
is.
cool outside. I mean, it's cooler. It's cooler than Arizona for sure, but not quite where I would like it to be yet. I'm doing this for good, moving in the right direction.
Yes. Well, anything for me is better than Austin. So, and better than Texas, like 110. And people are like, it's not so bad. Well, I am so happy that you could join us. I know that everyone loves to see you on these because you are such a wealth of knowledge. And we're going to talk about something today that I think a lot of people want to know more about. So, this is the final leg of the strategy syllabus. We're going to eventually do a live with Bina because we had some illnesses between her and I. So, but this is the final one. So, I'm excited to kind of end it on a grand finale note. And we're going to talk about the undervalue epidemic. So it's why nurses are so often like underpaid, overworked, and how we can change that. So I'm really excited because I think that is something you have a lot of information about and a lot of experience with.
Yeah, I love
Um,
this topic. When I saw the topic that you were going to do with me, I was like, this is my jam right here. Like, I was like, 30 minutes. I think we're going to need an extra hour and a half because I have some stuff I have to preach on this. Like, this is
yes.
like what I want to talk about.
Well, this is good. So, like, let's kick things off strong. Why do you think nurses are so undervalued, despite us having like such a wealth of knowledge? Like, I feel like everyone looks at nurses and they're like, "Wow, you have to be so smart to be a nurse. You do so much. You're a hero." So, why do you think that they're so undervalued despite their expertise?
Well, the short answer is that we allow it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the simple answer is that we allow ourselves to be undervalued. Um, there's a lot longer, more PC answer, and I'm not good at that. That's not my strength. But, if you look on LinkedIn, there's a ton of like movement for like nurse reimbursement to be its own thing and to be um, connected to the way doctors bill and nurse practitioners bill that nurses would be billed for. I love the idea of that. I don't know that in execution it will actually help us at all. I still think the hospitals will get that money and the nurses will get their hourly pay. However, if that could be corrected, obviously I am in support of that. And I love that the work that they're doing to try and show the value. But essentially, my answer is that nurses need to um, demand to be paid better as far as and I believe the only way we can do that is to control what we're paid. I don't think you can walk into an employer who says we have 10,000 employees and our pay scale is $33 an hour and then say, well, I demand to be paid 75 an hour. And maybe in some cases if they recruited you and you were there for a special purpose, maybe they would go with that, but not from what I've seen. And even when I've showed up as an employee for a job and been like, I need this amount of money, sorry, we just can't do that. It's not on our pay scale, it's not in our budget. And I've walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucked because I wanted the job, they wanted to hire me, but they're not willing to go higher than whatever they say they believe that arbitrary rate based on nothing is worth, right? Like, I mean, I don't even believe that a lot of the time, like, well, that's just our budget, that's just our rate. Like, I believe that that's true and they believe that, but I don't think that's um even like really relevant anymore for like
Yeah.
what a nurse should be paid or what the services rendered are or what the reimbursement is. Like, I just think it's completely arbitrary numbers at this point.
And could someone not change the budget and switch stuff around and make the
Right.
nurses be paid more? I don't
Right.
understand. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you really wanted to hire me, you would pay it. So have a good
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
But
good luck.
because there are that ingrained mindset that this is just what I'm worth, this is just the value of my time, I just have to take this. I mean, I've been in jobs where I was like offended by the pay. Like the
Yeah.
pay was like offensive, but it's like, well, this is what I've got right now and I just have to take it because this is what they're offering.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question is like what mindset patterns keep nurses stuck in that? But I guess probably fear or feeling like is there even another option, or I
Right.
guess that's what I make as a nurse. I guess that's just what it is. You do a little bit
Yeah.
of market research and you realize kind of everyone's paying around that. Do you have, any like examples or stories about like times where you've really wanted a job and they did offer to pay you more, or just I just want to know a little bit more about that.
This is like the fire that I have about this question right here is just like, there's not enough time in the day for me to talk about
Right.
this because the one thing I want to say, the most important thing I want to say before I forget this is that I was reading a book. So, on the way to Arizona on the plane, I was finishing the book that I've been trying to read all year, right?
Nice. Yeah.
One book for
Yes.
this year. Okay, guys, that was my only thing I wanted to do. I finished it. And there was this section in this book that said, um, your beliefs are what the only limitations that we have in our entire life are created by our beliefs. And when I was thinking about this topic and talking to you about this today, it's like I believe that as a nurse. So I've said a couple of things to Jetty in the past, like that I clearly remember. Clearly remember being a CNA and like hearing that a director of nursing made $50 an hour and looking at him and saying like, I will never make $50 an hour in my life. I mean, I made $27 an hour as a DON. My first RN DON job, I made $27 an hour, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And I believed that that is what I was worth at that time, that that was a good job for me, that that was like probably the highest I ever made because my first RN job, I made $22 an hour at night at my first RN job. Okay. That was with my night shift diff of 2 hours of $2 an hour. So 6P to 6A. So this was when Jordan
That's
was born. And
a
I pumped on the
sandwich.
toilet. There was no
Yeah.
toilet lid in the bathroom, right? A hospital toilet. And I sat on the toilet fully clothed and pumped. I took night shift so that because Jordan was just born, Jordan was like 4 months old, 3 months old, sat on an open toilet at night for $22 an hour and pumped every 2 to 4 hours and thought that that was like my best life right there. That was like the best it was going to get for me. Right. So the problem with beliefs is like we've got this constructed view of the world and what we can do. And it's just because of where we're at that time. Like we don't we don't feel the resistance except like in our day to day where I'm like, why am I away from my infant son pumping on an open toilet seat in the middle of the night, rinsing my breast milk bottles out in a dirty hospital sink and getting called back to the floor asking, where are you? Why are you off the floor right now? Right. Like, just like, and that was just okay at that time. Like, there was nothing in my brain that was like, you know what? I could be asleep right now. I don't have to do this. Like, this is not. And then now, 20, 17 years later, I'm like, well, my business made $110,000 this year in 1 month. In 1 month, my company that I own and operate made $110,000 in June. And that is the most mind blowing, unbelievable thing in the world to me. And like in 2023 in December, I had a project that I've talked about all the time because this was like one of those moments where like my brain shifted, my beliefs changed about like what was possible. And just the way it happened, the way it worked out, a company was like, please, 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 can you help us? We're acquiring a new location. We need someone to do a chart audit and tell us how the charts look. Can you do that? Yeah, absolutely. But can you do it this month in December, before the end of December? Sure. Okay. So I got 5 nurses together. We did a chart audit in December. And by the time I paid those nurses $75 an hour for their charts, and by the time I set aside my money for taxes, and by the time that everything was said and done, I had put about 5 hours into that project. So I emailed the nurses, gave them their projects, brought them on board. I talked to the client. I did a discovery call with the client. Can you handle this audit? Yes, we can. And then you helped me put together the PowerPoint with the results of the
Hmm.
audit. And I presented that PowerPoint to them for an hour. And then I did about an hour of follow up, and I did some billing, and I formatted the reports that we got and sent it to the client and said, here's the findings. So it was about 5.5 hours when it was said and done. And when the project was finished, I made $1,000 an hour. I got about $5,500 from that contract, and I worked 5.5 hours. And it just so happened that the way that that worked out, I made $1,000 an hour on return on my time from that. It wasn't intentional, and the client wasn't mad. They weren't like, you ripped us off. They literally were like, no one else would do this for us this fast. We needed this done this year so we could close this deal. And I think somebody even said, we probably would have paid you twice that. And I was like,
Oh, don't say that.
wait a
It's not
second.
too late.
I thought I charged a really high, really good rate, and I
Yeah.
made $1,000 an hour on what was left, and still paid all my taxes, and still paid all my contractors a really good rate. I feel like $75 an hour to do chart audits is a really fair rate. I pay as much as
Mhm.
I can, you know, but it just worked out that that was really lucrative. And I realized at that time, like, wait, what do you mean we would have paid twice that? Like, okay, game on. Like, all right. So, really, nurses who work for themselves can charge anything they want for their service that the results will deliver. I'm not advocating to rip people off or get price gouge or, like, you know, be greedy, right? I'm advocating to say, like, this is a very high value service I provide,
Mhm.
and it really helps people, and they really needed my help, and they needed a rush job, and that's extra. So I thought I charged them like a couple $1,000s more than I would have because of that. And they still were like, we would have paid double for that. Nobody else would do it. Right.
Oh.
So now I keep that in mind when I do things. I consider, like, what is the outcome they get? What is that worth? Where is the value at? What are they getting from this? Well, they got $1 million acquisition.
I know.
Gilly,
I'm like,
do you want to be part
he
of this
does. He's sitting in the
conversation?
chair across from me,
Okay.
staring at me and barking.
Okay. Wow. That is hilarious. You need to turn it around and show
I'll show
me. You
you.
need to turn it around and show me Professor Gilbert. Oh my gosh,
Sorry, my
sir.
makeup and everything. Yeah.
I love it. No, I thank you for that.
He's
But
funny.
yeah, so I feel like really, really strongly about this specific question about, like, mindset, because it truly is only what we
Right.
believe. Like, what do you believe about what you deserve to be
Yeah.
paid? That's it. That's what you'll get.
Well,
And are you okay with that? Is that okay with
yeah.
you?
Well, what steps do you think like people can take to figure out like what is their value? And sorry, now I'm trying to get everything back situated from this.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. I've flipped the
No,
whole
it's
world
okay.
around.
He got attention for a second. Now he's like, okay, it's my time to shine. Um, so like, what are the first steps? Is if I'm a nurse that is like, okay, I want to do that. How do you determine like this is what I should be making per job, or this is what I'm worth, or how can they start
Yeah.
to own their value?
That's really, really hard for nurses. And I feel like we expect this, like, very simple answer of, I should just know. And because I don't know, I can't
Mhm.
do this. And that's not true at all. It's actually takes takes time. That wasn't my
Yeah.
first job, right? I had jobs that I way charged under for. And I hear a lot of nurses, especially like nurse coaches and consultants, who are like, well, I charge $40 an hour for my services. And I'm like, well, how do you pay taxes out of that?
Right.
Oh, well, I haven't paid any taxes yet. Well, when you do, you'll make $20 an
Right.
hour. And that doesn't include the costs for your internet, your phone, your electricity, your professional
If
liability,
anyone's
errors and
helping you
omissions
at all.
insurance, your business license, your email account, if you pay for any softwares. As a business owner, we need to take all of these things in consideration. And so I think we think very small. If you're not an employee, when you're an employee, that $33 an hour that you make, or $40 or $50, whatever it is that you make as a nurse, is about half of what they pay to employ you, right? So they pay for your, sometimes some employers pay for disability, they pay for your educational services. Even if they don't cover your tuition, they pay to educate
Right.
you
Training.
internally. They pay for training and development. They pay for internal fees that they have. As if you could possibly think of all of the things that a hospital or nursing home or physician's office has to pay to operate, that is added on top of your hourly wage. So when you're self-employed, you need to take your hourly wage. Hold it together, Casey. Don't go rogue
I
on me.
will,
Your
I will
allergy. I wanted to say
allergy
allergy.
waves.
I'm having some allergies. Your hourly
Wage.
wage, and multiply that probably by 2 to even get close to operational costs that it costs to be a self-employed person or to be an entrepreneur and run a business. So, you need to consider those things, and just saying $40 an hour or $50 an hour, you are losing so much money. But that's a starting point, right? And then when you pay your taxes the first year and you pay all your expenses, and if you really did a business budget, and really listed out what you were spending, you would realize, I'm losing
Right.
money here. If I charge $40 an hour for my services, I am losing money. I'm in the negative. So, start at 100. Now, if you're a subcontractor, that's different because they're handing you the work, they're handing you the
Right.
clients. You can't say, I'm going to charge $200. I mean, you can say, I'm going to charge $200 an hour as a subcontractor, but they probably won't use you because they probably don't bill $200 an
Right.
hour. So there's different phases, right? Employee, self-employed person, contractor or subcontractor, consultant, business owner. These are all different phases that you're thinking in,
Right.
right? So as an employee, you're thinking more in the subcontractor mindset because someone else is handing you these hours. Someone else is just giving you the task to do, and that's like an employee would be doing. As a business owner, you're like, what are my expenses this month? I've got my insurance, I've got my taxes, I've got my payroll. At this point, Hart Healthcare Solutions employs like 6 full-time people and has like 8 contractors and part-time people. So we've got a pretty significant payroll right now. This is the highest payroll I've ever had in my life as a business owner. So I have to take all these things into consideration. I have 401k and healthcare benefits to provide. So I have to consider that I'm paying for those things for employees. So when I'm billing and when I'm creating these packages and pricing for my services, I need to consider that in my pricing, the operational costs of my business, right?
Right. So if someone, okay, that was a lot of information. I'm just thinking about all that because it's stuff
Sorry.
that, no, it's
Yes.
great. It's stuff that I've never even thought of. Like all those things that, I've worked in like a employee role where I'm like hired full time, and I've worked as like a, someone that was subcontracted, and I've done all kinds of stuff. But that's, stuff that people don't think about if they're not doing it. So that's great points. So that probably it makes a lot of nurses scared to feel like, I don't know if I can handle all that. How would you tell those nurses like to gain all that information? Obviously by joining the NNBA where you can get all these resources, but like how did you learn all this stuff? Did you have to kind of fall on your face a few times, or what? How did that work for you?
I think nurses have like this real fear of messing up, like it's not allowed. And that's not true. You know what I mean? Like you're allowed to mess it up and it won't make or break you. I did a project that I really regretted doing. Let me rephrase. I've done multiple projects I sincerely regretted
Yeah.
doing and thought this was a horrible idea. Why did I do this? I've spent so much time on this. I probably made $10 an hour, right, doing this because I grossly underestimated, number one, the value to them, and number two, how much time it was going to take me. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. Now I learned from that and I never did that again. Right. And now that I employ people, I've had to increase my pricing a lot. I used to charge, as a consultant, you can really vary what you charge and do different packages. Consulting is one of my favorite ways to approach self-employment or businesses for nurses. It just is. I just think it's the best. But you can have a client for 1,500 to 2,500 and dollars a month, and then just build your package around what your deliverables are. What do they get for that, right? So you can price any way you want, which is kind of what I'm saying is like don't overcomplicate this. It's actually not that complicated. You want to look at, are you spending money on things? And as you spend more money in your business as it grows, I think that's a mistake I see a lot is that the nurses that I'm coaching come to me with already $12,000 a year of business expenses and they have no
Mm.
clients. If you have no clients, you should have no
Right.
business expenses or
Right.
very few, or you should have marketing and coaching expenses and
Right.
nothing
Right.
else. You don't need software if you have no clients. If you're paying a monthly fee for software, if you're paying $500 a month for software and you have no clients, cancel that, right? If you're spending $15,000 on a website rebuild and you have no clients, don't do that again. That's a learning experience. Those are not, you should be getting money in before any money goes out. And you know that from your personal budget. I have to be making money to be spending
Right.
money. If it doesn't break even, I'm in trouble. And I think that's a mistake is that we believe, and I did this, I'm 100% guilty of this. We believe that we have to spend all this money to have our business running. There are very few things you need for business startup expense wise. And for consulting and coaching, it's almost $0 you should be spending for startup, unless you are spending it on mentorship or coaching, which I think the value in that is that it saves you so much time. And depending on what price you put on your time, apparently my time's worth $1,000 an
Yeah.
hour, right? So anything I spend that helped me get to where I felt confident enough to send a client an invoice that resulted in me making $1,000 an hour for that project, I learned
Right.
from. That was worth my weight in
Yeah.
gold. So you're spending money on mentoring and coaching because you're getting that return on investment, that learning. It's speeding up that learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really helpful. So this is a question that kind of goes hand in, well, it's similar to that a little bit. And I kind of laugh even when I even read it. Like I wonder why I even created, we're just going to have to ignore him a little bit.
Gilly,
Quiet,
come on,
baby.
get it together, buddy. This is
I
not your
know.
interview. This
I
is
know.
my
He thinks
interview.
it's all about him. But he hasn't made a peep until this. But
Of
so
course.
this makes me smile because I know from my own experience how freeing it is to kind of like be on your own. So I think we've kind of talked a lot about fear and how like fear of not making money, fear of not charging enough, fear of charging too much, but like fear of losing flexibility or fulfillment. How can nurses that are wanting to do this earn the amount that they should, that they're worth, without sacrificing like their freedom or fulfillment?
How can nurses earn what they should without sacrificing their freedom or
Yes.
fulfillment? I think this is an answer that no one will like. There is something you're going to have to give up. I was thinking about this last week because I had the freedom. Jed's running to the post office. That's him behind me. But I had the freedom to leave Tennessee and go to Arizona for an entire week and help my friends who were ill, right? And stay with them and take him to chemo and do all these things. And so I was like, wow, I'm so fortunate that literally my schedule is clear. I have a few calls. You did the team call for me on Tuesday morning. People cover it. I had a few calls that I did at their house during the week, and that was it. And I just enjoyed the rest of my week. And I was like, man, I'm so fortunate. I'm so lucky. And then I was realizing, like, also, I've had to give up the comfort of having a paycheck that's guaranteed every 2 weeks. Now, in return for that, I am making very good money right now as a CEO of my own business, and my business is on its way to $1 million this year, right? This 2025 is the $1 million year for Hart Healthcare Solutions, for real. It's happening.
Woohoo!
But yeah, I know, right? And that did not happen overnight. It was not get rich quick. And I'm not making that $1 million right now is not going directly into my personal checking, right? So I don't want to mislead anybody. That will happen. I'm putting that out into reality that will happen soon. But there is a sacrifice, and what you're going to sacrifice is the comfort of having a check that you believe is guaranteed to you. I had to be fired to figure out that my corporate paycheck, I'm making the same amount now as I did when I was the CEO of a hospice. I'm paying myself the same exact amount as when I was the CEO of a hospice. However, I believed that paycheck was guaranteed and this one wasn't. I thought working for myself was no guarantee, and that I wouldn't make enough, and that it just wouldn't work, and we would be homeless, and it would be catastrophic, and I would get a divorce, right? Those were like, sounds really silly to say that out loud, but those were actual beliefs of mine. So that was actually what I believed would happen if I didn't have a full-time job. So it's this shifting of beliefs of what's worth it. Yeah, a plumber uses his license and he's not afraid to charge, but nurses have licenses and they're afraid to charge for it. You're absolutely right. It's all in the mindset. It's this belief system that we have structured that if I give this thing up, I will lose. And it's required. It is required to give it up. You're going to have to give something. Now, you can transition yourself slowly. I'm not suggesting you quit your job today and just be like, okay, now it's going to happen for me, because it's probably not going to work that way. It did for me because I was fired and had my first client, and my first client was a $188,000 contract, right? It happened for me that way. I don't think it happens for everybody that way, but it can, right? Like, depending on your situation and what you're willing to do, it has to do with what you're willing to do for this. You have to be willing. And I have coached so many nurses who were not willing or who were not ready. And I don't say that as a negative thing, but if you're like, I really want this, I really want this, I really want this, I hate my job, I want to quit, and you're not willing to act or put yourself out there at all, and you're not willing to do the work, then you're not ready. You're just not ready. And you need to start taking little steps to get ready. And once you get to the point where you're ready for that exchange of like, I am willing to let this go and willing for it not to work out, to not be in this situation that I'm in right now for another minute, right? And so I know a lot of nurses who have gotten there and successfully done it, but I don't ever want to lead anyone to believe that it doesn't require a sacrifice. And I think I was thinking about that, maybe like just in our world right now, we have a lot of instant gratification and that we kind of expect things to go perfectly. And unfortunately, that is not realistic. It's not going to go perfectly. It's not going to be this perfectly fluid transition. There is no perfect exchange of, here, I'm going to exchange my full-time job for a company that makes 6 figures a month. That did not happen for me, right? It's taken almost 5 years, many failures, learning what I wanted to charge, learning what was too low, learning what people I do not want to work with and do not like and don't do well with and don't like me, learning what projects I love to do. And I feel like no matter what I make on this was worth it to help this outcome happen. And there are companies that I absolutely just like, they're my favorite people. I look forward to talking to them. I love what I do with them. They love what I do for them. They see a huge value
Yeah,
in it. And that's super
right.
rewarding.
Yeah. And I think,
Sorry, that I don't know if that answered the
no, it
question well,
did. It
but
did. And that is
okay.
something that I think I've learned a lot working with you is like, and just in general for anything, like, they say choose your hard. Like, it was hard for me to go in at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I used to work 16-hour shifts at a psychiatric hospital for adolescents. It was hard for me to get up at 4:30 to be at work, to work 16 hours, sometimes get a break, sometimes not, sometimes be assaulted by a patient, sometimes not. But it's also hard for me to discipline myself to, do the work when it's subcontracted or whatever, but you have to choose your hard. So I think
I
that's
like
super
that.
important. Like, it's
I
more
love that.
important to me. It's harder for me to do the first thing. It might be hard for the
Yeah.
second thing. Choose your hard. It is hard for me to get my dog to get along right now. But yeah, so I think that's huge. And also, not another thing I've learned is, not all money is good money. Not all people are good clients. Just because you get a client doesn't mean that they would be a client that you should take. And I think just being able to
Yeah.
say, like, okay, I'm not gonna go from like a lack mindset or like fear. I'm gonna remember that, like, if this person's gonna be more trouble and reflect poorly on my business or make me upset, and then I take it out on other people or whatever, it's just not worth it. So, two things I have learned from my experience since working with you, whether you taught it or I just heard it or saw it. But yeah, so I just wanted to throw this out
The
there.
beauty of that, what you just said, is that when you work for yourself, you control all of that. There is no finality here. And there's so many nurses that think in permanence. If I accept this client, I have to serve them forever. I just had a situation literally last month with a client that I should not have accepted. I wanted to help them. I thought I could help them. It didn't work out that way. They weren't happy. I wasn't happy. And so after 30 days, I said, I think for both of us, this is just not going to be a good fit, and you should go back to the old company you were using for this service. I think they were doing a better job than we can do for what you're asking
Right,
for. And I also, think that what you need is not really the service that I
right,
offer. And so after 30 days, now I've never done this before, but after 30 days, we ended the
right,
contract. And that's my option as a business owner. There were no hard feelings. It wasn't a good fit. It was painful on both sides. It was not, they weren't happy. I wasn't happy. Why would we
right.
continue this? Right. And so you learn that as you go, and you're not marrying this person. You're providing a service. And if your service doesn't meet their needs, or if you can't keep up with the demand, you just say, this
Yeah,
isn't working out and I can't provide the
yeah,
service. You won't be happy and I'm not happy, right? It's not a good fit, right? So there is no permanence here of trying something and it not working out. You just learn from that. You shift. When I was talking about starting out with like $1,500 to $2,500 contracts for consultants, I still can offer that rate. My rates now are like more, my goal rates are more 9,000 to 15,000 a month for my clients, but I could offer a $1,500 service and just build my package around what I feel would be
mhm,
worth it. So you just scale your time and your deliverables around the amount that they're budgeted for going forward. So you don't have to say, no, I only offer this. I can only do this. You can, but you can also say, well, it sounds like you need this. And for that price that you're wanting to pay, I could do this and we could see how it
right.
goes. You can build those services around those, what they want, what you can do, and how much they have to
Yeah,
pay.
yeah, I like that.
So it's all very flexible and scalable. It's totally within your
Yeah,
control.
I like that. And I think also being able to just find out, another thing I've learned from working with you is just seeing how some things can go really smooth, and it's like, oh, I should offer this more because been really
Yeah.
smooth and really easy, not easy, but easy to manage.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
something that I can offer and get a quick return. It's really helpful for the client, and it's great for me. So I love that. So I always ask, I've been asking everyone at the end if they want a dog for free.
If they need a
No,
dog, if they need a
if
dog, he's very
what they
friendly.
would say to a nurse that is like where you were 5 years ago. That's like, okay, I'm ready to do something. I just don't know what. Like, what's your next step? And then, like if I were that person, what would you tell me?
I would say, depending on where they're at, if they already know what they want to do, I would say like start small, take some small action steps. And I feel like a lot of nurses go into like the research mode with 1,000 tabs open and spend hours and hours and hours. So if anybody knows my story, well over a year before I got fired, I was trying to build programs and do webinars and workshops and create courses. And I was trying to put all of my knowledge from being a DON in this course platform, shared it with no one, told no one about it, did not promote it, did not offer it, was scared to death, and also thought I had to put every piece of knowledge I had ever learned into that course to make it valuable, which is actually the opposite of what you're supposed to do for
Yeah.
courses, because no one would ever want to read that information. That was like the most boring, dull. You could just go read the conditions of participation or the watermelon book if you're a DON, and you would have got more information than like that course. But the thing is like we that was something I believed. That was a wrong belief that I had, that what I did was made it super simple, took all the forms I made as a DON, put them in there, and sold it for $27 over Memorial Day weekend and made $3,000 in 3 days, doing nothing. I did nothing. I put it in the folder. I shared it on a Facebook group. Hey, these are forms I made as a DON if you want them. Hope it helps you. They're $27. $3,000. Sold 100 of them in 3 days. So it's like, when we overcomplicate things and we think they have to be perfect, we never show up for ourselves and we never actually pull the trigger and do it. And that's why it's not working for you. If you can't figure out how to start, it's because you're not starting. If you can't figure out why it's not working out for you, it's because you're not working. You're just researching. You're just doing these same old things over and over and over again. You don't need more research.
Right.
You don't need more tabs open. You don't need to know more knowledge. You need to do more action, do more connecting, do more talking to the people you want to serve and figuring it out. And that's what's really going to move you forward. So that's what I suggest, is like, stop worrying so much about all the details. And I know that's easier said than done, but start having more conversations about what you want. One of the really beautiful parts of this journey for me has been seeing that I can actually take a vision for something and like execute it in a year. I think last year when I was looking at a piece of paper I found in one of these books that I
Yeah.
started in 2023, it said like, bring Jetty on in full-time leadership. I wanted Jetty to be full-time with me. And then when I realized that not only could I do that, but I could have you full time and I could have Callie full time. I could have my sister, my best friend, my husband, and my oldest daughter all working for me full time. And now my oldest son part time. These are my core team. Once I executed that vision and figured out that was possible, I was like, this is awesome. Right? So it's like, once you actually start doing it, once you create the version of what you want your life to look like, it's so much more mindset than strategy. The false belief is that you have to have this strategy. You don't need to have a strategy. The strategy will come. You don't need to have a business plan. The other thing this book said that I absolutely have never loved anything more in my life: do not have a business plan. It will set you up to fail. And I was like, this is the most, there's a what's the word for it? It's like pop culture word that I'm too old to know now. You were talking about it the other day, of like the antithesis of something, but it's like there's a young kid term for this that I
I
can't even
don't
guess,
know.
but it's like, I don't know. It's like the opposite of what you would think it's supposed to
Okay.
be. So it was like a business plan will get you exactly what you put on it and nothing more,
Mhm.
right? So he said, if your business plan says our goal is to do this 2 clients by the end of 2025, to say you couldn't have had 12 clients by the end of 2025. You need to have a market plan and an action plan that you are
Right.
going to execute. What are you going to do every day that would get you 2 clients? Because it'll probably get you 12 instead. If you were
Right.
going to connect with 2 people every day and tell them about what you're doing and offer to help them, instead of getting 2 clients, you'd get 12. So it's
Yeah.
like all of this belief construct of whatever we put out there that we are going to do is what happens, right? And
Yeah.
so I loved that because I've struggled with business plans so much, and I have so many nurses that struggle with business plans. Like, I've spent 20 hours trying to make a business plan and it's just not working. It's like, who cares? Don't do that then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
then
Waste your
then
time.
tell me, right? Then tell me 2 things you're going to do for your business this week, right?
Mhm.
So I love things like that because I feel like nurses really get stuck inside of those rules. We're very rule driven and
Mhm.
we're very task driven. Like, we need to check off the boxes and we need to follow the policies and
For
we need to
sure. Yeah.
be careful of our license so we don't mess anything up or somebody could die. And in business, none of that works. So it's a total shift of how you have functioned. That performance mode has to stop. And the more and more I've backed off of that in the last year and a half, I have I have started to give myself some grace and back off the performance mode has just blown up my business and what I've been able to do.
Right. Yeah. And that's advice that people, I just think it's so unexpected, but
Yeah.
it's
It's the total opposite of whatever you think you should probably do. It's just the total opposite. Just focus on relationships, build relationships, talk to as many people as you can about what you want to do, and you'll start making the right connections and then just follow through and act
yeah.
on one or two things a week for your business. Just follow through and act, and I feel like it'll come together.
I also feel like just doing it, just yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean that's just
Yeah.
what you said
Yeah.
basically, but
Just do
just
it.
doing it,
Yeah.
like
Stop
instead of
researching it.
being
No
like,
more
oh, how am I
research.
gonna do? Even like
Yeah.
working in the NNBA, I'm like, I don't know how to do this website, so I can't do that. It's
Yeah.
like, well, just do what you can,
Just
and
do what you can.
yeah,
If you can't
yeah,
do that, then do the next right thing.
right,
Take the next right step. Well, I know I want to have, a beautiful website. Well, what's the next right step? Well, next right step would be like knowing what I want to put on it. Because even if
yeah,
I could pay a designer, if I don't know what the copy is and I don't know what I offer, I'm not ready to have a website. I feel like we're
right,
trying to get ahead of ourselves with these huge things when we haven't done the work for the first step, which is to know what we offer, know what we sell, know what we're worth, know what we
yeah,
want. If you can get a detailed, I mean, like 2 pages, like just sit down and write 2 pages of exactly what you want your life to look like professionally, personally, it's all together,
mhm,
financially, what your financial outcome looks like, what your work day looks like, what your view is. If you're like, I want to sit outside on a porch in my hoodie, drinking my coffee while the wind blows and it's 70 to a perfect 70 degrees and
yes,
there's corn grown up across the street and I don't want to have any calls all day except for where I talk to my sister about making a bunch of money, right?
yeah,
Like that level of detail. And then execute off of that.
yeah,
How do you build a business that matches that?
yeah, and it is
Yes.
possible because yeah, Gilly says for
Gilly's
sure.
here for it. Yeah.
And I mean, it is possible because we see people doing it every day in the NNBA.
Left and right.
It's been so inspiring, and
Yeah, this is not just me coming up with this concept. The
yeah.
people who are really, really winning are doing simple things like this.
All right,
Gilly,
he's jumping on this end of this
get
call.
with the program.
Yes, yes, this is what he wanted all along. Well, this has been so good. So before we wrap up, anyone that's listening, I'd love for you to share, like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Obviously, with the NNBA, we're making a bunch of changes, which has been super exciting. But what are you doing, and how can people connect with you? And
Yeah.
this is our co-host. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Right now, I'm obviously pouring a lot of attention into the NNBA. I do coaching and I still have my full-time consulting business, which I'm very fortunate to have other nurses running and executing and subcontracting. Um, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. If you want to email me, I would say email um, Nina at Nurse Business is the best way to like get a response. But I will say this because I don't want you to be disappointed. We have a lot of people who connect with us and ask for coaching via email or messenger, and it's not fair to you and it's not fair to me. I can't coach you on email or messenger. If you want
Mhm.
information on connecting you with a coach with the NNBA members have a whole coaching directory. You can find coaches for your specialty there. If you want coaching from me, you can ask me for coaching information. But if you're emailing a question, we get a lot of questions via email like, I'm stuck starting my business. Here's what I want to do. Can you send me a detailed roadmap of how I can do that? And I'm like, no, that's coaching. You need a
Yeah.
coach. And I love helping people, but it's also not fair to and I don't have a whole picture of like what to respond to via email or messenger. So if it's a coaching question, I can't answer that. But if it's like, where can I find information? What does a consultant do? If you have questions, I would love to help you answer them. Just don't be disappointed if I say like, I can't coach you via messenger because it's not fair to
Yeah.
either of us. So if it's coaching questions, you need a
Yeah.
coach, right? And I feel like that's a big part of it is that if you don't know the next right step, you probably need somebody to help
Yeah.
you. The NNBA can definitely provide the tools and resources, and we have an amazing member directory of coaches and consultants and people in every business who can support you. So if you're an NNBA member, log into your member portal, go through the member directory, search by type. You can search by consultant, by coach. Um, you
Yeah.
know, any
Yeah.
kind of any kind of
Right.
area.
That is definitely something to utilize. And also, our members only community that we just launched that we're still trying to grow,
Yes.
go in there and put on one of the, chat walls, just
Yeah,
say, hey,
questions.
this
Yeah.
is what I need help with. I don't think I'm ready to get a coach yet, or I'm looking to buy like a 1 hour of coaching, or does anyone have any free
Yeah.
resources, or how did you get started? Like, a lot of
Yes.
people are willing to give advice without, and then a lot of
Absolutely.
people
Yeah.
have really like specific advice that you might need. You might not have
Yeah.
information on med spas, but I know like we have other members
Right.
like Karen Tessie who has
Yeah.
great experience with that, so it was just, yeah, definitely utilize that because it is really, oh, thank you. I'm working on bringing him around. Um, so he doesn't bark on calls, but yeah, it is really important that you take the initiative as a member to go through all the resources. It doesn't work unless you do. So it's like you have to definitely utilize it, figure out who you can reach out to, make connections. That's what it's all about. And yeah, utilize the resources like the members community.
Agreed.
And
Absolutely.
these are free calls.
Casey, this is your new title. You've been promoted. Congratulations.
CEO, my
Canine
little
Executive Officer.
boy. He's our mascot. But yeah, I think also these calls are super important. That's why I'm trying to make series because they are like coaching calls. Lynn, I can send you a private
Yeah.
message. That way I can help you get signed up and tell you a little bit more about what we offer. But yeah, so I'm so glad that you were able to join
Yep.
with
You can
me.
also get information on nursesbusiness.com. There's a
Yes.
lot of information on the website as well. So you can always go, you can always reach out to Casey at Nurses Business for membership information or go to the website, which is just nursesbusiness.com.
And I can
So
shoot you a DM on here too if you didn't get all that. But yeah, check out the website. It goes really deep into detail about how we've been around for 40 years and all the things that we have grown to do and all the awesome things that we offer. And, there was an ownership change last year in October, so we're coming up on a year, but we're woohoo!
Happy
But
birthday.
we're making a bunch of changes and improvements for.
We're really listening, to what people need help with. So we're adding more resources based on what you guys say you need. So let us know.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. I'm
right.
so happy that we got to have this conversation. I'm going to share it on our social media, so anyone that didn't get to hear all of it will be able to benefit from it.
I appreciate you.